Welcome to the QQEvolution training class on creating new customers. This training video will show you how to add a new commercial or personal lines client into QQEvolution. We will also cover how to enter multiple addresses for your clients, change the client's status, set an important note, among other things. Now, to add a new client to QQEvolution, you will need to enter that information in the Clients section, which can be accessed on the upper left-hand side of the QQEvolution dashboard. Once you're in the Clients section, you'll be taken into the search screen. Now, this is where you can search for your active, your inactive clients, your prospects, or you can search for all of your clients all together. Now, this particular search can be changed by clicking on the different radio buttons that are located on the search screen. We can also search by different ways. You can search for your clients either by the insured name, by driver's license, effective date of policies, insured's names, or maybe social security numbers. There are different ways that you can search for your clients. You can also click on the browse option here, which will bring up the entire list of your customers. Now, at this point, we are searching for all of our customers. So we have our customers that are active, inactive, and in prospect status all in this database. So if I wanted to narrow down my search, I can change that radio button to search only for active clients. Now, at the very top of my screen, I have my standard toolbar, which stays basically the same no matter where I am in QQEvolution. Below that, we have what's called the QQEvolution ribbon that works as an action toolbar. So depending where you are in QQEvolution, those options located in that toolbar will change. Now, to add a new client, once I'm in the search screen, I can either click on the new client option here, or I can go into the client section and I have the same option there as well. Once you click on this option, you'll go ahead and QQEvolution will give you a new screen to start typing in your information. Now, by default, our system is set up, if you notice here on the right hand side, to add a client automatically as a prospect. Now, if that is not the case, what you can do is simply uncheck that option so it adds that customer once you save that information as an active client. From there, you're going to start typing in the primary insured's personal information. Now, before we go any further, I do want to point out that the client screen is separated into two sections. We have the top portion of the client screen, and we have the bottom portion of this client screen, and this is the information that we will be covering during this training video. Now, of course, the primary insured's last name is going to be entered first. So we'll go ahead and type that information in. Once you click or hit your tab key over to the next section, the system will automatically tell you what to enter next. It will always be highlighted in blue. We can go ahead and just enter that information. If there are certain fields within this section that you do not want to fill in at this point, you do not have to fill that in. We can simply bypass them and we can come back to them at a later time. Now we're just going to click on our tab option so we can move to the next section, which is the insured name. Now, the insured name, even if we add a spouse, will always default to the primary insured's name, the last name and then the first name. Now, we don't recommend that you change the order that gets saved in, simply because if you're going to be participating in carrier downloads, you want to make sure that the system matches that information correctly. Salutation area is next, and this is where you can add the primary insured's first name. If this particular area can also be pulled onto any template letters that you create. This field can be edited at any point, and you can add additional information to this section. We have a section for URLs that can be entered, as well as client numbers that can be automatically set as a default within the Utilities section of QQEvolution, so that you can automatically have customer or client numbers generated when you're creating a customer. The next area that we're going to look at is the miscellaneous section. Now here is where you can select the advertising tour, the source of business that led this customer to your agency. So by clicking on the drop down arrow on the right, you'll see a list of all the advertising tools or source of business that have been created and saved for your agency. Now additional sources of business can be added in the utilities section of QQEvolution so that you can go ahead and keep track of your advertising tools through this. This information can also be typed in with source details if needed, which can also be pulled onto a report. So if you wanted to keep track of the different advertising tools that are bringing in business to your agency, a good way to do that is to fill in the miscellaneous section with the source of business. The agent of record also gets listed on the client screen, so this is the customer that has the overall responsibility for this customer. We have a since date which allows you to enter the date that this customer officially became your customer with your agency. It will, when you first start adding your new client's information, it will automatically default to the day that you're adding that information. However, that can be changed at any point in time by your agency. And then you have your language preference. So if you click on the drop-down menu, you can choose any language preference for this customer between English, Spanish, and French. The next area that we're going to look at is contact information. Now, contact information allows you to set all the telephone numbers or contact telephone numbers that the customer can be reached. So if you can go ahead and type in basic home, work, and cell phone numbers. Anytime you come into this area and you see a drop-down menu next to a phone type or a contact type, that means that you can click on that drop-down list and you can select different contact telephone numbers or contact names to add in this section. So if I don't necessarily need to add a second work number, I can change this to a callback number or maybe to a Skype number if needed. Now this is not something that gets defaulted moving forward to all of your customers. This type or phone types would be specific to this customer. We also have a section right below where you can enter 2 email addresses for your customers. So if you needed to add information or email address so you can email the customer directly to or from QQEvolution, you can go ahead and do that. Once you have entered that information, you'll notice we have an envelope icon to the left of the email address. If you click on that option, that will open up the email panel, which allows you to email your customer directly. Now the icons on the right give you access to your QQEvolution Rolodex. So if you have additional individuals that you'd like to include in this email and their email information is stored in the QQEvolution Rolodex, you can go ahead and access that information by clicking on the icons. You can also access any template email letters that have been created and saved within QQEvolution. You can type your email or the body of your email in this section as well. And if you notice at the bottom, we also have 3 different areas where you can attach either invoices, receipts that are stored within QQEvolution in the letter section, any images or documents that are also stored within the customer's account, as well as Accord forms. All emails that are sent out through QQEvolution are stored automatically within the memos section. So if you need to refer back, you can always check in the memo section for that information. I'm going to go ahead and click on Exit. Now the next portion of our training in the client section will be reviewing the bottom portion of the client screen, which includes the policy tab, linked accounts, other contacts, addresses, and employer's information. Starting with the Policy tab on the left-hand side, this tab will list all the policies for the named insured. Now these policies can be active, current active policies, policies that are in expiration status, or canceled policies as well. The next tab over is linked accounts, and this particular tab allows you to connect or link any account together with this particular account that's in QQEvolution. So if you have a customer that has a personal lines and a commercial lines account, you can link those accounts together without having to merge any data. To link accounts together, you're simply going to click on the linked accounts option on the lower right hand side. Once you get to this section, what you'll need to do is search for your account that needs to be linked. So we'll go ahead and just type in a name. So you'll see a list that will match that information or that person that you typed in. You're going to highlight that account and you're going to click Add to Link on the lower left hand side. This will add the information. Now at this point, if you need to add another account as a linked account, you can do so as well. So now if I need to go in and add an additional account, I can just simply do that. So I don't necessarily just have one account that I can link multiple accounts together. Now once you're done, you do need to make sure you click on the Save option on the lower right hand side. Now what this allows you to do is basically toggle back and forth within accounts, so you don't have to go back to the search screen to actually do that. So if I needed to access Bill and Karen's account on this particular screen, I can go ahead and double click on their name and it's going to take me directly into the account, and I can search for particular information that I need. Now to go back to our original account, I need to go back to the Linked Accounts tab and simply click on my customer's name. If going back into the Linked Accounts tab, if you do at some point need to unlink any accounts, all you need to do is go back to the Linked Accounts section, highlight the account that needs to be linked individually, or you can remove them. Here on the lower left, you can see we have the option to remove all of them at one time or remove just maybe one. Again, make sure you click on Save to save your changes. Okay. Our next tab over is Other Contacts. Here you can list as many contacts that are provided to you by the insured. You can list everyone from their brother, their sister, maybe their mechanic, their neighbor. It can be listed all in this area. Our next tab over is Address Information, and this is where you're going to add the insured's address information. Now you may have insureds that have multiple address, and you can do that as well. Now to start adding that information, you're going to click on the Add option on the lower left, and you're going to go ahead and type in that information. So we'll start with the address. Now the city, in my case, is automatically defaulting because that's how I have my system set up, to automatically default to a certain city. You can also have a default to a certain zip code if needed. Now you can, if that particular choice or that particular city does not apply to your customer, you can override that and just manually enter the correct city and zip code. Now at some point you will need to indicate a mailing or garage property address. Now the mailing address that you indicate will be the address that will be on all correspondence that you print out, all letters that you print out, receipts, invoices. So you want to make sure that you absolutely select an address to default as a mailing address. Now once you've selected that particular option, then you're going to click on Update on the lower left hand side, and yes, we want to confirm our changes. So if you notice now in the address section on the left hand side, we have our customer's mailing address. Now, if I need to add additional mailing addresses, I'm simply going to click on Add Address again so I can get a clean screen in this particular section. And I'm going to type in the mailing address that I need. Now, garage property address, if you have customers that have a different garage property address from their mailing address, please keep in mind at this point our option is grayed out simply because it's a brand new customer. We do not have any policy information in there. So once you do add some policy information, you are able to select an additional address as a garage property address. But if you wanted to enter additional information or address information, maybe rental property or seasonal homes that they may have, you can enter that information here. Let's go ahead and type that. And here in the comments section on the right, I can type in that this is maybe a rental property. Now I always want to click on Update to save my changes. And I can just keep adding additional address information that I need to in this section. Now our last tab that we're going to look at is Employer's Information. So this is where you can enter all the employer's information for both the named insured or any residents living in the household. If they have employers, you can add their information here as well. Now when we're looking at a personal lines account, that tab defaults to employers. But when we switch this to a commercial lines account, you'll notice that the screen basically stays the same with a few changes. The only difference, and the Employers tab will change as well. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to change this from a personal lines account to a commercial lines account. So looking on the upper right hand side, we have the option to change this now to a commercial lines account. So some of the changes that you will notice in this particular section is the insured name. So the insured name is going to be a company name at this point. You can also, in the next section, enter the insured's federal ID number if you have it. Now, just like before, these are not required fields, so if you don't have them at this time and want to leave them empty until you are able to gather this information, you can do so. On the far right, you'll notice our salutation area now is located on the upper right hand side of the client info section. We have the client number still the same. That also you can set up in utilities to automatically default when you're creating an account. Now we have also an option to add the business type. So now you can select what type of business this company is in, as well as adding a DBA name and the company's website address here in this particular area. For the most part, the miscellaneous section and the contact information section will also remain the same. The only thing that changes in the bottom part of the client screen is the employees tab. As I mentioned before, personal lines, you'll see employers tab there. With a commercial lines account, you'll be able to enter the employees information within this section. So you can add all the employees that work for this particular company. Now, changing that back to a personal lines account, you'll also notice in the client information section on the far left, we have attach client's image. So if you have a picture of the client or maybe a picture of the client's home or vehicle and you want to attach it to their particular account in QQEvolution, you can go ahead and click on attach. Of course, it does need to be saved within your computer. You can click on browse so you can choose the picture that's saved in your computer and then attach it from there. Also on the far upper right hand side, you notice we have an X date. Now X dates are simply dates that you can set on a particular account to allow for remarketing purposes. So if you have a certain line of business or a certain date that you would like to start contacting this customer to remarket or maybe approach them for a particular line of business, you want to add the date that you want to start working on that account, not necessarily at the expiration date on that policy. Once you've set that information, on the dashboard you have a section for X dates that will tell you any X dates that are set that are coming due. You can also pull reports within QQEvolution of all customers during a certain period of time that have X dates that are coming up. This concludes our training video on how to add a new client in QQEvolution. Thank you.